Hi everybody, welcome to Lauren's Crazy Pet Show. We are so excited. We are at the South Salem Wolf Conservation Center. It is a magical place. We even have wolves behind us. This is Dana, she's my co-host. And Dana, we hope that when people watch this, they will come away with an entirely different outlook on wolves, because some people are afraid of them.
Yeah, that's the goal, that people will really kind of become wolf advocates themselves.
Yeah. Oh, and we have such a great show planned for you. Look at her. Who's that behind us?
So here we have Alewa right behind us.
She's beautiful.
She's gorgeous.
She's curious too.
She's one of a kind.
Oh, they're beautiful. What about their names? They're very unusual.
So their names all kind of mean something. So Zephyr's name means west wind or light wind. Alewa is actually an Algonquin term for sweet pea. And Nikai means little saint or one who wanders.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so with the best show planned, we are also going to introduce everybody to a wonderful senior dog whose eyes are so wolf-like. You're going to love it. It's such a great story. And we also are going to go and see my favorite owls in the entire universe, right in Connecticut, the snowy owl. Have you ever seen one?
Not in person.
Oh,
Yeah.
they're like
They
the
are gorgeous,
supermodels
though.
of the owl
Yeah.
world. But here we are right now at the Wolf Conservation Center, and sometimes, okay, not only are they fluffy and you just want to grab them, you can hear them howl.
So howling actually serves a lot of different purposes. Wolves can hear each other howling up to 10 miles away.
Wow.
So sometimes it's a really great way, because although they're social animals, they might not always be traveling together. So it's a really great way for families to regroup. It's a great way for them to advertise to other wolves that, you know, this territory is taken, don't mess with me. It just serves a lot of purposes. And sometimes our wolves here, you know, we're not exactly inside their heads. So sometimes it just seems like they're howling for fun. But we will often hear them howling throughout the day and throughout the night as well. It's very exciting.
You have such a distinct message and you are making such a difference.
That's the hope. Yeah, so we really try to educate people on the plight of wolves, and we introduce them to some of our endangered species. There have been hundreds of years of eradication campaigns to eliminate wolves and other large carnivores from the landscape. And we know that they are really crucial. They are vital species, that they maintain a lot of balance in the overall ecosystem. So we're working to undo a lot of this stigma and get people to understand why it's so important that we protect wolves. We of course love them, but we really need them too.
Yeah, I mean, it's so important for everyone and for the environment. You are working hard to not only help people understand, but also to release them.
Late this April this year, we actually got to release a wolf pup into the wild, one of our endangered Mexican gray wolf pups. She was born in a litter of 5 pups to some of our wolves that are part of the SSP, or the Species Survival Plan, and they're part of that overall federal recovery program. She was part of this really amazing process called cross-fostering. And what that means is that you can take an animal that's born in captivity and you can actually place them and foster them out into a wild family. So this little pup was flown out to Arizona and she was brought to a wild wolf den, and she was actually placed into that den. And the female in that group, she had just had pups herself. They were born right around the same time as our pups here. So we got to place this little tiny wolf pup in with that new family, and she will be accepted by that mom, by the siblings. She'll of course smell a little bit different, but she'll accept her pretty much instantly. This little pup, as soon as she was placed in the den, she actually started nursing right away, which was a great sign for us to see.
That's amazing.
And if she reaches adulthood and she has pups of her own, you know, she'll be helping to save her entire species. She's kind of contributing really crucial genes to that wild population. So we did name her Hope. We nicknamed her Hope because she kind of represents hope for her overall species.
Now there's 2 different types of wolves that you have here.
Here we have 2 species. We have gray wolves and we have red wolves. With our gray wolves here, we actually have a few subspecies. So our ambassador wolves are Canadian or Rocky Mountain wolves. They're kind of the wolves that you might see out west in Yellowstone National Park. And then our Mexican gray wolves, like our little Hope that I mentioned, they are an endangered species. And the red wolves, they are a wolf, but they're their own distinct species, and they're critically endangered as well. And when we picture wolves that at one point used to live in this area in New York and in Connecticut and just in the Northeast in general, general, it wouldn't be a wolf like our ambassador wolves. It would actually be one of our red wolves. Our ambassador wolves have been hand raised. They're here as, we like to think of them as teachers. So they're kind of representatives for their wild counterparts. And they're here as part of our education team. And they're really crucial in kind of bridging that gap and getting people to see wolves up close. You see them, and some of their behaviors, are sometimes a little bit similar to what we see at home with our dogs, but they are very different. So these 3 wolves, even though they've been raised by people and they're curious about us, they are still wild animals. They're just socialized.
Right.
And then with the other wolves that we have here, we actually have 50 wolves on site. The rest of our wolves are part of the species survival plan. So they don't go through that socialization process. They actually remain as wild as a captive wolf can possibly remain. We like them to maintain their natural wariness of people, which is really, really critical if they do get the call of the wild.
We're going to take a break now.
Okay.
And we are going to discuss all your wonderful education programs and how you guys can come here and actually see them. So we'll be right back. Stay tuned to Lauren's Crazy Pet Show. Welcome back to Lauren's Crazy Pet Show. We are at the South Salem Wolf Conservation Center. I'm here with Dana, and behind me, look at this. We have wolf and dog, not real, but beautiful statue, which of course makes me think about the connection between wolves and dogs.
So wolves and dogs are actually quite closely related. Every single dog we know, regardless of their breed, they're all 98% wolf because they evolved directly from wolves. So they are really, really similar, but of course, some of our dogs might look a little bit more distant from wolves, but we'll see a lot of similarities in their behaviors and a lot of the ways they communicate, and we'll see physical similarities as well.
We actually have a wonderful story. We're going to head now to Old Greenwich about a wonderful pup who's a senior now and whose eyes, I swear, they're like wolf-like.
Oh, wow.
You have to see. You're
Yeah.
going to love it. I am so excited that I get to meet my Instagram crush. It's Tucker. And I mean, he might not be walking around as much as he once did, but he's certainly going a lot of places with his mom, Beth. I love him, Beth. I love him.
Me too. We've been together for a long time.
And I know that you adopted him, you rescued him.
Yes, from the Connecticut Humane Society when he was 9 months old. I am his 4th owner.
So what happened? How did it happen?
He was brought in when he was a puppy with his litter mates, and he was adopted by a lady who wasn't able to keep him, so she brought him back, and then he was adopted out again. Not sure why he was returned the 2nd time, but the 3rd time he ended up going home with a family who we thought was going to be a keeper, and I believe he peed on the landlord's foot. And the landlord said, okay, no dog, so they brought him back again. I met him between home 3 and I'm 4, so I met him right before he went to the 3rd home, and I had fallen in love with him instantly, but I was okay if he had a good home. Then he came back and he was there one day, and I was like, all right, he's mine. So he's been with me ever since.
Which has been how long?
He's 15 and a half now.
And now I love the fact that he actually gets to ride around in a beautiful red wagon that someone made for you.
My dear friend Kathy, she had a senior dog who had mobility issues as well up until he passed away, and she used to take him to the park all the time. She lived in Darien. So she brought his radio flyer, his name was Cole, to here one day. We all met and we walked around the park. And somebody saw us, and they had a dog named Perkins, who actually is here all the time, in a cart that was actually better suited for him. So my 2 friends, Sue and Kathy, bought the cart for Tucker, and we started rolling. He loves it. It's very hard for him to walk. Some days are better than others. So it's easier for me just to pick him up and lay him in the cart and let him just see the ducks, and he still gets stimulated. So when they're seniors, it's hard because they can't move as much anymore, but they still have life. They still need to be stimulated and smell things and get out, and he loves his walks. So this was the way I was able to continue his walks where he can leave the yard.
I just love it. I mean, because I have a senior too, and everyone will at one time.
Yeah.
And this is really an important message, and I know that's important for you to talk about as well.
Yeah, it's very important for me. Yeah, I see so many senior dogs that are kind of done before their time, I guess, because people just kind of give up, like, oh, he's old now, he just wants to lay there. And it might be that they just need the engagement. It's ageism is not a disease. It's just we all get old. So to me, it's really important, and something I really like to focus in my career on is getting the dogs out and keeping them active, moving, and it's important to keep them moving. Once they stop moving, then they stiffen up like humans, and then it's kind of curtains at that point. So when he was a puppy, he was a force of nature. He was all over the place. Up until he was about 13, he used to run around nonstop and play ball in the yard. He used to like to roughhouse with his other 2 sisters, and now he just kind of chills and eats. He likes to eat.
Well, I adore you, Beth, and I love every time I see a video. I just absolutely love it. I mean, I think people
glad.
can learn from that because, like you said, some people think, oh, my dog's older, like sit at home, but that's not true. There are things you can do.
You need to get them out. And you're seeing more of it now. It's kind of nice. You see a lot of people really engaging, but then at the same time, a lot of people are just like, well, he just wants to sleep. So make him get up. You know, just give him that spark that wants to get up. You know, they don't want to do the same things they used to because they can't, but you can engage them in other ways.
So I can see he still has a great quality of life.
He does. It's a concern, you know, that they're just, you know, he's just hanging out for me, but and it's something I watch closely. I want to make sure that he's actually happy. So
He looks happy, Beth.
Yeah, I mean, he does have bad days. We all do, but most of the time he's a perfectly happy guy. He's alert. He's engaged. He likes seeing people. He loves visitors. He likes other dogs. So as long as he's like that, then we're going to keep walking the park.
He's my Instagram crush. I love him, and I love his mom for how she treats him. It's amazing. I know that you are a big animal lover.
Yeah, I am a big animal lover, clearly in my work and at home as well. Quite an array of pets at home. I have geckos, I have a rabbit, I have a dog, I have a cat. Both my dog and my cat are foster failures, so I am a foster parent for a lot of pets. I foster with Paws Crossed Animal Rescue in Elmsford, New York. Primarily, I foster kittens and get them kind of ready for their adoptive homes when they're at the right age.
Isn't it?
You know, when you're an animal lover, it just kind of spreads to every aspect of your life, and I love it.
It's so amazing. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. We continue our marvelous Lauren's Crazy Pet Show on location at the South Salem Wolf Conservation Center. Dana continues to be a fantastic host. And this is such a lovely spot. The elevation is really high, and we're also seeing not only wolves, they're not running free, but there are wolves here, but also some amazing birds.
Yeah, we get a ton of really awesome wildlife here, and lots of beautiful bird species really like to use our grounds around here.
And speaking of, we have a story. I think you're going to love it. I really do. It's about the snowy owl, and I consider them the supermodel of all owls.
That's a good way to describe
right?
them. Yeah.
Fantastic. Maybe we'll see one here today. I'm not sure, but take a look at this. Patrick, one of the owls I absolutely love is a snowy owl, and people don't realize you can see them right here in Connecticut.
Yeah, it's not a great year for snowy owls, but we've already had a couple of sightings here in Stratford. They come down in certain winters. Some winters they come down in big numbers, other winters they just come down in small numbers. And it seems like this is a year that they're going to be a little bit more scarce, but we have had two of them already. They nest way up in the high Arctic, and often in the years when they have what's called an eruption, sort of an invasion into the south, it's thought that there's a really good breeding year up there. So they have a lot of young ones that are kicked out of the territory by the adults, and they keep on trying to find a new place to find food, but they keep on getting kicked out of the territories by the other adults, and they have to keep coming further and further south to find enough food to survive the winter. Snowy owls as a whole are declining and actually are considered a global conservation concern now because a lot of the changes that are going on up in the Arctic. In some areas, their populations are declining precipitously, and like, for example, in Scandinavia and in Siberia. But it seems that the eastern Canadian populations are doing okay from the numbers that we get down here. Of course, it's hard to keep tabs on the nesting populations of a bird that nests in such desolate Arctic tundra.
It's interesting because we were in Milford with you, and we actually got to see some.
Yeah, that was great. That was last year, and there were a few around last year. The one I saw this year was actually on top of a roof over here in Lordship, and somebody had sent a photo to someone, and then word got out, and there were a whole bunch of people out enjoying it. They're absolutely beautiful with those golden eyes and the varying, the adult males are nearly pure white with no black on them. An immature female is white with heavy barring of black. So they're variable. Each one sort of like a fingerprint. You can tell individuals. They're large, they're charismatic, and they're beautiful. We do have other species of owls in Connecticut, including the great horned owl, which is just as impressive as a snowy owl. They're just not the white that really catches the eye. We have barred owls, and last year there was a big invasion of barred owls. Some of the same reasons. We think they may have had a really good breeding year, but followed by a fall in which there was a crash in the rodent population. So we are seeing a lot of barred owls in unusual places like people's yards and out during the daytime hunting. That's the other thing about snowy owls, is that they tend to be roost out in the open during the daytime because they're a bird of the high Arctic tundra. They're not used to trees. So they look for open places to sit out, and they're not really afraid of much. Of course, you got to take care not to flush them. They're on a very low energy budget. They're really fighting for every calorie they can get. They rest during the daytime and then they go out at dusk. They're crepuscular hunters, and they hunt seabirds, they hunt ducks, they hunt gulls, they hunt mammals that they may see.
So amazing. So if people want to learn more about owls in general, I know you give some wonderful lectures, you go on walks and such. How can people get involved? I mean, there's so much that the Audubon has to offer.
Yeah, we do have, we have 7 nature centers around the state. You can find out about our programs either on Facebook or at ctaudubon.org. We do have owl prowls on occasion. Those generally aren't to see snowy owls. We also have an eco-travel program that goes all around places where the snowy owls are almost regular, like Satchwest Point National Wildlife Refuge in Rhode Island and Montauk. Also Parker River National Wildlife Refuge up in Massachusetts. But right here in Connecticut, Milford Point and Stratford Point and Long Beach are places where the owls do show up regularly.
I wonder if there's any here now. I know you have cameras out because you get to see all the other wildlife beside the wolves that hang out here.
Exactly. So we have a series of trail cameras or remote cameras set up throughout the grounds here. It's kind of like a nice little scavenger hunt to find where I've left them. But what those cameras do is they monitor the wildlife that passes in front of them. So we'll see tons of bird species, we'll see hawks, we'll see owls, we see coyotes and foxes, bobcats, and it's a really amazing way for us to really get in touch with the wild animals that use this space around here and really see kind of what they do when we're not around.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Fantastic. Okay, well, stay tuned because we have more on this wonderful center, and we're going to tell you how you can actually come and visit. Love, love, love. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Lauren's Crazy Pet Show. We are at the wonderful South Salem Wolf Conservation Center with my terrific co-host. This is Dana, and we're just laughing because I'm hoping that the wolves don't like marshmallows because my coat looks like a giant marshmallow. I think people might be curious of what they eat.
So our ambassador wolves, they get quite a varied diet. We will give them all kinds of fun little snacks. They might get chicken, they might get turkey, ham, of course deer. Whereas the rest of our wolves here, they actually exclusively eat deer, which would normally be their natural prey.
I see.
And around here, usually that means roadkill deer. But at least we're kind of making use of that resource, and the wolves certainly appreciate it. But our ambassador wolves, they get all kinds of fun little snacks.
And I can't even believe we were here many, many years ago when we did another show called Pet Talk, and we got to see the ambassador wolves when they were babies.
Yeah.
They were actually being raised or sort of socialized a little bit by Rebecca, who is here, by her dog.
Yeah.
And I remember that. Now they're so huge.
I know. So when they were little pups, we had pup nannies, and those were some of our staff members and some volunteers, and they helped to raise our ambassador wolves and just get them very comfortable being somewhat close to people. And then, of course, a key member of that team was Kai, who is a German Shepherd, and he kind of stood in as the canine pup nanny, and he sort of taught them all about what it meant to be a canine of some sort, and would just really kind of teach them and communicate, and he served a really vital role. And yeah, he's Rebecca's dog. So
really was fascinating. And also one of your wonderful, wonderful ambassador wolves, who has now since passed away, sadly, Atka, was really a friend to our Pet Talk show. And many times he came on and just really changed, I think, people's perceptions. I know a lot of the viewers would write all the time about what a wolf really means and what they are. And again, they're not pets.
So they are still completely wild animals. Our ambassador wolves are socialized. supervised, which means they're a little bit more comfortable with us, but we would actually consider them probably the 3 most dangerous wolves that we have here because they're not afraid of us. So we fully respect that. We give them ample space, but we do want people to understand that wolves are not pets. They do not want to be pets.
And I know a lot of people are sort of about the coyotes because we've had some problems, coming, but that's something you say still.
Yeah, so we personally love our coyotes. Coyotes are kind of the current, wolf of the area.
Right.
They are significantly smaller than wolves, so that's one way that they're not quite as scary, but of course they do get into the occasional situation of conflict where they might unfortunately go after people's pets and things like that. Coyotes are highly adaptable, so they are incredible at figuring out ways to live around people, and it's really just a matter of us figuring out the best possible way to coexist with them. So here at the Wolf Center, we teach people all about coexistence methods, both with wolves and other animals, but with our local wildlife as well. And we provide educational programs and tell people all about the really simple, kind of common sense things that we can do. Keeping our pets supervised, making sure garbage is not left out, that there aren't really attractants in our yards. And studies have shown that this really, really reduces instances where people might get into conflict with coyotes. Overall, coyotes really are not anything to be feared. There's a ton of, just like with wolves, a ton of mythology surrounding them. And that's something else that we're really trying to dispel and get people to understand and appreciate, that coyotes are very vital members of our kind of ecosystem team around here.
Yeah, and I think it's important for everyone to know that. I love the work that you're doing here. Love it so much. I think it's really important for people to know that they can come and be a part of what you do. So let's talk about your educational programs. You have outreach programs, and you even have sleepovers here, which I would really like to do. Is it for all adults and kids?
Absolutely.
All ages.
So we have a variety of programs. We offer public programs every single weekend. During the week, we invite school groups to come here. All of our programs do have to be scheduled, so if you do want to visit, you can go to our website, nywolf.org, and you can register for a program there. We have a wide variety of things that you can do here. We have educational programs where we start in our cozy little cabin-style classroom, and we teach you all about the wolves, and then of course we come up here and we get to see them up close and in person. We have off-site programs, and then of course we have our Sleeping with Wolves program.
I love it.
Yeah.
I gotta come to that. You also have 24/7 cameras so people can get like a peek into the dens and see what they're doing. And also the Mexican wolves, right?
Yep, so all of our enclosures. So our ambassador wolves, our Mexican gray wolves, our red wolves, every single enclosure has 2 cameras in it. So one along the fence line where you can kind of see a wider view of a part of the enclosure, and then one in a den in each enclosure. And you can really see what these wolves are doing when we're not around.
And they're not watching TV.
Exactly. They're playing, they're communicating, they are eating. It can just be a ton of fun and really educational too to see what these wolves do.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
thank you so much
thank
for
you.
hosting us. And thank you everybody out there. This has been Lauren's Crazy Pet Show.